everybody, welcome to Vine Path. Vine Path is a monthly wine club put on through Baco's Wine and Cheese, located in the Back Bay in Boston, Massachusetts. My name is Mariana, I am the wine buyer there, and every month I pick 3 to 5 wines relating to a topic or a theme, and we explore that topic through the wines. This month the theme is New Age Spain. I've always been very intrigued by Spanish wine, whether it's more classical expressions like Rioja or the Cava of Catalonia. But this is a country where there's 96 registered DOs or denominaciones de origen. There are so many microzones and different type of varietals. So to just focus on Rioja or Ribera del Duero would be a shame because there are so many fun regions. The new generations of winemakers in Spain are doing really exciting things. It's kind of a cool mixture of the history of Spain, but adapting it to modern times. So let's dig in. Up first, the Menpe from Hasi, Berriak. It's actually the second time we feature this winery. This is from the Bay of Biscay in the Basque country of Spain. It's a winery that does traditional chacolinas and also experiments. The wine we had a few months ago was aged in amphora. This is one aged in stainless steel. The winery is actually located in a biosphere reserve. It's an area meant for the conservation of plants and animals in the area of Urdaibai, very close to the Atlantic Ocean. You get a lot of influence of the Atlantic in these grapes. The grapes in this wine are Hammurabi Suri and Hammurabi Zeratia. And the first sip is like electrifying. There's a lot of citrus and acidity and brightness. On the nose I do get some yeastiness and a lot of like salty seashell, but the palate is so zesty. I get a lot of that ume, or that Japanese plum, specifically the very tart light plum. Now this is a wine calling for food. So Arcaiz Garbanzo and David Zabala are the gentlemen behind this project. One of their taglines are the land of our grandfathers and the vines of our fathers. So they're very much trying to preserve the history of the winemaking culture in this area. I think Basque culture is all about preserving culture. It's such an old language. In this area, the big cities are Bilbao and San Sebastian, famous for their tapa restaurants. And this month we threw in a little tinned seafood. So local company Island Creek partnered with a tinned seafood company in Galicia, Spain, Conservas Mariscadora. Different region in Spain, slightly more west, but these mussels are canned in a pickled sauce. Beautiful fat and meaty mussels. I recommend to take a piece of toast, smear some butter on it, put a mussel on it, and sip with this wine. It's a wonderful pairing. The wine on its own is good, the mussels on its own is good, but when together, it just pops. Up next, one of my favorite styles of wine, a textured aromatic white, the Blanc de Orto Brisat from Orto Vins. This is 100% Garnacha Blanca from the Montsant region. The Montsant region is in Catalonia. It actually is an interesting region. It surrounds the region of Berriak in Catalonia, which is a little more well known for their intense reds. Orto Vins is a project with Joan Assens and 3 of his childhood friends. Joan was recently in Boston. He's a grape and terroir genius. Like, he knows so much about vineyards and fermentation, and I was really taken aback when he was describing the way he makes his wines. He actually worked for Alvaro Palacios, who is quite famous in the Berriak. He was a vineyard manager there. In 2009, he went back to his hometown of Masroig to elaborate this project. And let me be clear, this style of wine is not new. It's quite old, actually. He's getting inspiration from his ancestors. The theme of this month being New Age Spain, I meant more new to the general market, new to us. Garnacha Blanca is a clone of the Garnacha grape or the Grenache grape. You see it a lot in anywhere from southern France, more in the Rhone region to this part of Spain. It's a heavy, oily grape, but when treated correctly, such an ageable grape. This wine that we're about to taste, you can probably age this for 20 years and it's just going to get more and more interesting, but right now it's definitely at a great spot. So off the bat I get a lot of banana peel, a waxiness, yellow flowers, very perfumed, and boy is that fatty, oily, I was tasting this with some customers yesterday, and everyone thought this was going to be like a oaky Chardonnay. There's actually no oak in this wine. All of those toasty, nutty flavors are coming from the grape. Walnuts, dried nectarine, olive oil. There's a saltiness, there's a fruit jam to it, and what keeps it from being flabby and too heavy or oily? The acidity. The acidity makes you want to come back for more. I really recommend starting off with a chilled bottle and then leaving it on the table and letting it warm up a little to more room temperature, and it's just going to open up and you're going to smell and taste more things. Just to give you an idea, a lot of the vines in this wine, they're about 60 years old. The Grenache Blanca actually has some skin contact, but really just to give it texture, it's not classified as an orange wine. Especially after meeting the type of man that Joan is, so kind and proud of the work that he does. This wine is unapologetic. You either get it or you don't, but either way, a force to be reckoned with. I would have this with heavier seafood dishes. I think it would be really nice with, I'm thinking of a dish from Bobal on Newbury Street. They have these mussels in a creamy saffron sauce that, between the fennel and the lemon peel and the creaminess, I think this would stand up to it. Of all the wines of the month, is the more expensive one. It retails in the high 30s, but I think it is such a steal because, let's say, heavier California Chardonnays or even white Châteauneuf-du-Pape. So the region Châteauneuf-du-Pape, they do make some white wine. Actually, and the white wine has a lot of white Grenache, and those retail at $50 and up. This you get some sort of that deeper, heavier sensation, but at the fraction of the price. And now we have Trasto Tinto from LaOsa. This wine is 100% Prieto Picudo. The winemaker, Noelia La Paz, is a really vivacious woman. She was actually recently in Boston and I got to meet her. Very passionate about what she does. She comes from a family that was making wine. She was working very closely with her brothers, but then decided to work on her own project, LaOsa, the name referring to her nickname, Bear. Her main focus is to work with the two indigenous varietals of León. So we are in the province of León. Specifically, she's in the town of Ardón. This is a very windy continental climate region, meaning really hot, intense summers. The daytime, there's a lot of sunlight, but then really cool and crisp nights and winters. So the growing season allows for a lot of ripening in the grapes, a lot of concentration, but the grapes don't necessarily become jammy with all that sun because the cool nights maintains the acidity in the grapes. The varietal Prieto Picudo gets its name from the fact that the bunches of grapes, when they grow, are very tight, Prieto meaning tight, and Picudo meaning angular, referring to the shape of the grapes when they grow. The grape bunches are really pretty. They have like a hue of blue. Noelia is adamant about using the least amount of machinery in her vineyards, doing it as much manual labor, very low intervention. The soil here is alluvial clay. The Prieto Picudo in this region is very commonly used for rosé production, though of course you can make beautiful reds. The grape has a very deep hue when you make it, so even though this is a lighter red, the color looks very deep purple. I love the smell of this wine. It's like rose petal and hibiscus and pomegranate juice, almost like sandalwood. Noelia is using neutral barrels, so after fermentation the wine sits for 4 months. She actually reserved some of last year's wine, puts it into the current vintage's wine, about 10%. So that gives it a little more depth. The palate is beautiful. So much black cherry, so juicy. A little more of that pomegranate hibiscus spice. And even though it feels lighter, I would say this is medium body, the tannins are just like light dusting. I've tried some of Noelia's wines over the years and I think they keep getting better. You can tell she's honing in on her style. I would want to have this wine with maybe a charcuterie spread, so I'm specifically thinking like a chorizo. Something that has like a little smokiness, a little spice. A board with olives, chorizo, beautiful olive oil to dip some bread in. The name Trasto refers to the fact that when she was little, she was very mischievous. So Trasto is like a nickname for like naughty or mischievous kids. I love that she has a little declaration on her label, both in English and Spanish. I love that she's putting León on the map internationally. Up next, we've got Finca Molar, their 2020 Bobal. This is from the Manchuela region in Spain. So we're in southeastern Spain, starting to get towards the Mediterranean, but it's still pretty inland and at really high altitudes. Finca Molar is run by Rus Jimenez, her father handed over the family winery when she was in her 20s. Her and her team are making organic wines with a lot of Manchuela character. I actually discovered this wine because it's imported by Mary Taylor. Some of you might know Mary Taylor's wines. She imports really typical examples of different regions all over the world. She recently had 17 of her winemakers all over, mostly Europe, in Boston to show their wines, and I really liked this winery. Bobal is actually the second most grown red grape in Spain, the first being Tempranillo, and historically it's seen more of either a blending grape or more table wine, kind of more mass produced. But wineries like Finca Molar are trying to show the finesse that the grape can have. It is a thick-skinned grape that can make very dense wines. Off the bat I get dark plum notes, black tea, there's almost like a meatiness to it, slightly gamey, and on the palate a lot lighter and fresher than the nose initially smells like. It's more like blueberries. There's a little chocolatiness to it. The finish is almost herbal, making it feel very fresh. But this is just such a thirst-quenching, satisfying red. I actually do recommend decanting this wine because when I first opened it, it was a little more one note. But now that oxygen has been introduced to it, it's really opened up. This is a very versatile wine. It's one of those, if you're going to someone's house, you don't know what they're serving, bring this. It will go with most things that red wine goes with. But off the bat, we're going into the summer months. I would have this with a mixed grill, so you have some veggies, a little steak or hot dogs on the grill, a salad on the side. I would go with a wine like this because it's gonna kind of bring everything together. This region is really high altitude, so it gets a lot of sun and deep concentration of heat and sun during the day, but very cool nights, which is ideal for a hot region like this. I think it's really cool to take a grape that maybe doesn't have as much prestige, take it seriously, and we see the potential of this grape and we see it through a new lens. The wine world can sometimes be very elitist, a lot of preconceived notions about certain regions or varietals, but if you rid yourself of that and just gravitate towards good producers, whether you meet them through cool wine shops, importers that you might like, I think you'd be very surprised at the value that you can get. Well, after tasting through all these wines, it left me wanting to immediately get on a plane straight to Spain and just rent a car and go to all these fun regions. It's a country with so many micro wine regions that are worth tasting and exploring. Sometimes it's fun to mix it up and try lesser known regions and taste what these new age Spanish winemakers have to say. Because if it's something that a lot of these winemakers have in common, it's that they are from a region, they leave their hometown, they explore the world, learn about winemaking, and then they come back and go back to their roots with all of the technique and lessons that they've learned all over the world, and they highlight what their region has to offer. Until next month, cheers everybody. Salud.